Hey, this is Bryce, and thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. Today we're going to do a video on the closeout of the Lunchbox Speed Run Challenge project. I received my prize for taking first place in the challenge with a run of 56 miles an hour. I got this double XL t-shirt from Poor Boys RC. Big shout out to Phil over there. Thank you. The shirt fits. So what I'd like to do is kind of show everyone out there on the channel what it takes to build a fast lunchbox. So I'll kind of do a breakdown of my car, and then I have amassed a large collection of parts as a result of this project. I started off with just a stock lunchbox built from kit. This is my first lunchbox I'd ever built. I built it up, and I started breaking parts, and I started buying parts and collecting parts, and I've amassed a box full of broken parts which I saved to kind of show what I had to go through. I've amassed a box of extra parts, hop-ups, custom-made parts. I've got a little tackle box here full of hardware, and then I've got a box full of wheels and tires, just from all the different iterations that I went through to try to find the best combination that worked for this vehicle. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip the camera around, and we'll see what I've amassed for this this little guy here. Thanks for watching. All right, so first I'm gonna go through the box of parts that have been junked as a result of these speed runs. All right, so let's dig in. I'll start with wheels. When I was running these when I was doing my speed runs, I was basically breaking wheels every couple of runs due to crashing. There's just not really any wheels out there that hold up to a tumble at 50 plus miles an hour. Basically the hubs would break out like that. These are all kind of shiny and melted because I was trying to use an acetone vaporized acetone to try to melt the CA glue to recover the tires, and it melted the wheels. So yeah, I went through all these wheels. This is a special set of wheels using 12mm hexes that I ordered. I spun this one out. This one survived, but one wheel is useless. And these are just more wheels that had busted out hubs. This had a matching wheel that also busted out the hub. Ultimately, what I ended up going with, the only wheels that really held up for me were the ones that I designed and printed. Let's get into the chassis. So this is the original chassis that came with the kit. I was running it stock with no reinforcements, and actually, well, no, it's cracked. So there's stress cracks here. Oh yeah, there's a nice crack along here. Sorry, there's a crack along there. We had some stress. We're getting stress cracks in these corners here. This is the big one that kind of made me want to change it. We got stress cracks there. So this chassis could probably still be run if I reinforced it. It's actually slightly. It's kind of a toss-up right now with the chassis that I currently have, because that one is damaged. I tore out the body mount here, and I've got stress cracks here, but I don't have a stress crack here, but I have the reinforcement piece along here that might fix this problem here. So I might actually save this chassis and use it. Oh look, there's a nice stress crack along here too. These are the side plates for my custom wheelie bars, and these basically just got, they're cracked. I could actually still use this one. They get eaten up, they get chewed up on the rear end just from crashing. But these are actually still usable. But these work with my custom gearbox. So they go on like that. These don't work with the stock gearbox. These ones I had a crash where I completely tore them off. So this one here is actually trash. This one here I could probably reuse if I really wanted to. It's not cracked. It's just torn up, chewed up on the back end here. I think one of these other ones, yeah, this one here is actually cracked along here. These are just these are kind of test parts. So what I'll do when I want to have a custom carbon fiber plate that I cut out, I'll print it real quick just to make sure that the holes line up where I want them to, and then I will, once I'm happy with that, I'll go ahead and cut it out of carbon fiber. So I had a couple of iterations on these guys. Let's see here. This is another test print for carbon fiber. So this is a roll cage that fits the stock gearbox. Not a roll cage, a wheelie bar that fits the stock gearbox. So coming up with this geometry here and making sure that the wheels are the right elevation was challenging, but actually I got it on the first try, so it worked out really nice. These guys here are test prints for to help reinforce the chassis. I basically wanted to tie into the original shock mounts here. So these guys would screw in from the top. Actually, I have this backwards. This one goes over here, and this need. So yeah, I was playing around with. Okay, yeah. So it uses the original hole for the shock mount, and then you drill an additional hole through the back here to secure that, and then there's a chassis brace that goes along the side here. So this has got some weird geometry to it, as you can see, in order to work on that back end of the chassis. And then on the other side, I need to have this notch here there's this boss here and I didn't want to cut it off. So I need to make this notch, and obviously I got it wrong on the first try, so I had to play around with that until I got it right. Here's the original body. It's in really sad shape. I'm actually going to try to fix it up just so I can keep doing speed runs with it. You can kind of see it's all cracked up here. It's cracked here in the front. We've got some cracking in here. We lost a chunk of the body. So yeah, this is my Lunchbox body. I knew I was going to destroy it, so I didn't bother painting it. Well, it says yellow, so it must be yellow, right? These are my extended swing axle braces. And also I replaced the pivot with a bearing, a ball bearing. But you can see after a couple, actually a lot of crashes, these actually held up pretty well. But after a lot of crashes, they started to crack. You can actually see a pretty good crack there. They're pretty durable, but you know, again, plus 50 mile-an-hour crashes and they start to fall apart. Gearboxes, oh, this is the windshield from the Lunchbox that was completely destroyed. I think this happened when I have one video where I ran the Lunchbox into the back of a car and ended up getting wedged underneath the car. And this is what happened to the windshield. So right now I have the duct tape windshield. Alright, gearboxes. So this is one of my, I had this wild idea for kind of a ultra wide gearbox with 8mm axles. I was running 12mm, I think I was trying to run 17mm hexes because I was running some of the infraction wheels, the armor infraction wheels. But this is a screw up in the print. I had basically a 0 thickness geometry there in my model, and I didn't see it, so I had to go back and adjust the model to fill that in. So that was a bad print. This guy broke in a crash. So there's supposed to be a boss that sticks out here. That's the pivot for the swing axle. So that's sheared off. And this gearbox half, we lost the wheelie bar mount back here. You can kind of see, I don't do 100% infill, so you can kind of see the webbing inside there to fill in the gearbox. To keep it light, I forget what I was doing, like 60 or 80% fill. This gearbox, obviously we lost so this is the first gearbox I did, and I was using the original wheelie bar on the Lunchbox, which just has a single screw attachment point, and that broke in a crash. If you, okay, So this geometry here was kind of based, I didn't pay close attention to this because I was making my own gearbox, but it was loosely based on the original gearbox. So you can see kind of how this would fit up on that, even though these aren't actually the right locations for those holes. But this is a good wheelie bar that could be used on a stock gearbox. Gears. I went through a phase where I was stripping out gears quite a bit. Actually, these gears actually hold up pretty good. This is the counter gear that interfaces the pinion gear. So I guess actually it's a spur gear. But I was going through teeth on these with one of my setups. Same with the blue guy. And this gear didn't print well. I was having problems with printing, so that peeled up from the bed when I went to print it. And this gearbox, this is the gearbox that we lost the tabs, the 3 mounting tabs for the wheelie bar, and we ended up breaking the that wheelie bar as well. And then axle shafts. I went through quite a bit. I would actually take these and straighten them. So these are, I was trying to make my own. This is actually, I was trying to make my own, and they didn't hold up very well. This is just kind of low carbon steel, not heat treated, not very durable. So as you can see, these axles sheared off. And these just this is tweaked. Sorry, this one here is pretty tweaked. I didn't want to mess around trying to straighten it. And after a couple times to straighten it, they start breaking like this. So yeah. Actually this one, and then these are just more stubs, axle stubs. So those are the parts I went through to get to where I was with the car. So now we'll go through the parts that I've amassed for this build, and actually I have some spares still that are new, so I got some of these slicks. These are the best, for my car, these were the best tires. And I went through quite a few combinations, some we don't even have here. I put them away for a rainy day for a different car. But really what the Lunchbox needs is kind of bouncy tires. You don't want stiff tires because the squishy tires absorb shock. Because the Lunchbox suspension is not very good. So you want squishy tires. Squishier the better, in my opinion, or from my experiences. That it might be different for your car depending how you're set up. So actually I have quite a few of these. I don't remember ordering all these. So spare wheels, when I was going through wheels like crazy, I kind of started ordering a bunch of wheels, even though I stopped using them just because they aren't very durable. These are my wheels that I started printing. Here's some wheels that have been printed, but I haven't taken off the supports yet. But here's my wheel with the super beefy hub. So these are pretty much bomb-proof. The only thing I've broken on these is these lips tend to crack, and yeah, otherwise they hold up very nicely. This one is the rear, and these are actually fronts. So this is meant to go on the front wheel. You can see the bearing support in there. These are some more skinny wheels that I was trying out. I eventually got away from these and I went with my own skinny wheels because with these wheels you have to use a spacer because the axle is longer than the wheel hub. And so I wanted to take full advantage of that long axle and space my bearings out to give me the least amount of slop in the wheels. So I actually designed and printed my own front wheels, skinny wheels. Here's some of my custom wheels with the tires mounted up. These are still good, but the lips started breaking on them, which is fine. I could still run these or glue them up. This is a matching set, so. And actually the stock tires do pretty good too. So these Chevron tires or these slicks, they both get good runs. I've got some video where I get really good runs with these tires as well. For me, what matters is the squishiness here. But these are fronts, obviously, so I'm running skinnies on the front. These, I actually never got around to trying these, but they're they're probably too stiff and it'll cause the car to bounce around. These definitely don't work. These are fronts actually. So I made my own hub so that these would work on the front. But they're too bouncy. Actually, they have too much traction. So you kind of, with the Lunchbox, my theory is you want the front to kind of push so that you don't want a lot of traction in the front because you don't want those wheels to grab and kind of cause your car to veer off course. So you almost want the front end floating to some degree. I mean, you want some steering input, but you don't want it. You don't want very good hookup with those front wheels. And this is one of the bodies I was running. I started off with the Gravedigger body, then I switched to this guy, and then people are kind of complaining about not being a real Lunchbox because I didn't have a Lunchbox body, so I threw the Lunchbox body on. It doesn't really make a difference in speed. I think I mean, statistically, I think it's insignificant, but if I had to say, I maybe saw a 1 mile an hour decrease with the Lunchbox body versus the Lex-N body. But actually, I like the Lex-N body better because when it crashes, this is much more forgiving, and it kind of slides on it. If it flips over, it slides on the asphalt. Whereas with the Lunchbox body, it's not forgiving, and it tends to kind of it hooks up on the asphalt and causes the car to tumble a lot more, and also a lot of the impact stresses from the crash tend to get transmitted to the body post and the chassis. So the Lunchbox body actually causes more damage to the car than the Lex-N body. So I prefer running the Lex-N body, but for the fans out there, I run the Lunchbox body. And these are spare parts that I've amassed. So I got, you know, extra drive shafts, and I'll actually I'll tweak these. If I bend them, I'll straighten them out. I got this little tackle box of extra hardware, various spacers, bearings, screws, just stuff that I was sort of using but and wanted to keep track of. Actually, leave this over here. So I've got extra brand new chassis. I've got some different configurations of gearboxes. I think at the end I was running with this the most. Another gearbox. And another gearbox. This is the one with the 8mm drive shafts and the ultra wide version. Now I got a bumper kit, which it's actually a really cool looking bumper. It's got some lights on it, but given how I was crashing, I didn't want to put this onto my speedrun car. I have an alloy gearbox too, but this is based on the stock design, so I didn't want to. Well, I was trying to do my own gearbox because I wanted to have. I was messing around with gearing, and this would have limited me on that. Here's some more front wheels. So these are my front wheels that I designed and printed. I can kind of see the hub that sticks out there, so it's extra wide, and these still have the supports on them. These are some more skinny front wheels I was running. What do we have here? Anti-sway bars. This is a steel gear, but since I'm running my own custom gearing, this is almost worthless to me, at least for the speedrun car. The original shocks and gears. So I probably have enough parts to build up another Lunchbox if I had to. We got the original wheelie bar, some shock parts from some Tamiya oil-filled shocks that I was trying out. This is a front bumper attachment. This is the original plastic lower bulkhead. I actually went with an aluminum one, which I think is a good thing to do because it held up like a champ. Lots of gears, lots and lots of gears. and just different combos. And actually, at this point, I've forgotten what's what. I know the smaller ones are for the original gearbox. But even this one, look at that one there. That one didn't print out very well. It's kind of squished. Let's see, how do we see that? Yeah, there you go. It's squished here. We got some original arms, and I have these Delrin arms, and I love these arms. These arms have held up to all the crashes. I know. I only broke one of these in all of my crashes. So it's basically machined out of Delrin, and then they reinforce the pivots with dowel pins. So these things are awesome. And this is actually a double wishbone suspension kit that I think it's Monster RC out of the UK. But it's an awesome kit. I really like it. So these are my various lockers that I was running. Basically, it's kind of like the original diff, but it's just a two-piece locker, and that allows you to load in your drive shafts into that little hex there. And when I was running my own drive shafts, instead of a hex, I would use a cross pin. I don't know if I can show. Yeah, so here you can see that cross pin design on that for the locker. Another locker. Whoops. These are some 17mm hexes if I wanted to go that route again. And that's about it for spare parts. Alright, so now let's get into possibly the world's fastest Tamiya lunchbox. So towards the end of the competition, after I had hit 56 miles an hour, there's also, the Tamiya Club keeps track of the fastest speeds for each given chassis design. Actually no, each car design. So there's two postings right now for Midnight Pumpkin and Lunchbox. So they look at the car, not the chassis. And the rules over there are that you have to run a stock gearbox. You can have upgraded gears, but you have to have the stock gearbox with no modifications. And so after hitting 56 for the Poor Boys RC Speedrun Challenge, I started aiming for that, the speed challenge over at Tamiya Club. And so I reverted back to the stock gearbox to do that. I do have my own gears in there. I have a custom pinion and spur gear, and I think I'm running the original diff with my lockers. So let's start from the front of this car. So here we have an aluminum lower bulkhead. This is by GPM, and this thing is a tank. It's heavy, but you kind of want weight on the front end, and you can see all the scrubs that I have here. So this whole thing is held up quite well for me. And so here's this the double wishbone suspension kit. You can kind of see the stance of those arms. They're above horizontal. So this thing's squatting pretty low in the front. That's interesting. I just noticed my steering tie rod is bent. And I'm running these oil-filled shocks from Tamiya. I don't know what they call these, but they're the black body oil-filled shocks. So I got that in the front. And so the kit comes with these aluminum C-hubs. And actually what I found, they use long screws for all their pivots. And I was getting a lot of slop between the C-hub and the spindle. So I actually replaced that with a dowel pin. And then I drilled and tapped the back of my spindle so I could basically put a set screw on that dowel pin so it didn't fall out, and that fixed a lot of slop. Here you can see the front custom wheels and the hubs, and there's a little bit of slop, but it's coming from the there's a little slop in this direction, and it's coming from the ball and the upper tie rod. And the steering, there's a little slop, but it's from the servo. What I don't like is the servo saver slips it slips. It has some slop. So I'll go and do a run, and if I crash, I'll tweak the steering, and I'll basically have to kind of go and force the steering to where it needs to be, because that servo saver slipped. So what I wanted to do is completely get rid of the servo saver and run basically a drag link between the two front wheels, and then a single link from the servo arm to either the left or the right. Probably the left one, because that's, or yeah, the left one, because that's the shorter one, and that would give it the stiffest steering. So I want to do kind of a drag link suspension setup, or steering setup, just to eliminate any extra slop there might be. A drag link, so you still have 1, 2, 3, 4 ball points, but between this wheel and this wheel, you've only got 2 ball points, whereas here you've got 4. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1, 2. So the relative slop between the two wheels would be reduced. And actually, you can see, I can see, I don't know if you can see, I have some slop here between these two wheels. Actually, what I'm seeing too is the spindle, the arm for the steering, is actually flexing quite a bit. And I have some aluminum arms or spindles, but they weren't very good quality, and they were just too sloppy for me. But I think to get a good fast car, you want to have very stable steering, and to have stable steering, you need to get rid of as much slop as you can out of it. And then you want to run, you know, these squatted shocks to get those wheels as low as possible. So moving on to the rest of the car. Let's see here, I've got my receiver up front, speed controller back here. I'm trying to keep everything below the chassis, because when this thing rolls, it tends to tear out anything in the back here. The other thing I did was I reinforced my chassis, so I have these carbon fiber side plates. You saw the blue printed parts prototypes, and those basically, you drill three holes in the chassis here to bolt those to the chassis, the bucket chassis. And then up here they mount to these 3D printed brackets that I designed, and they also tie into the swing axle hanger or bracket. I updated the design of that to integrate with the side plate, and then also the side plate doubles as a battery retaining system for a 2S shorty LiPo. So on this side, this is the fixed side, and then on this side, the left side, we have this removable side plate or battery plate. So I made these aluminum, sorry, the camera's moving. I made these aluminum body posts, and that just drops in and gets held in place with 2 body clips, like so. And it actually works really well. In all of my crashes, I never lost a battery pack. Basically, once I got to this point, this car became bomb-proof from a chassis perspective. I did start, I am having some hairline stress cracks here. So, and I think that's just a result of this flex here. So I'm probably going to go the route of putting a brace across here to reinforce the front end. And then on this, excuse me, on this chassis, because I am running the aluminum body posts, something's got to give at some point, right? So I ended up tearing out this section where the body post was mounted. I don't want to do a full chassis teardown because I still have to get some runs in on this. So I'm probably just going to try to glue something back here to fix it, just so I can run it. So as we keep moving towards the back of the car, I'm running, right now I'm running a 4.5 turn brushless motor. When I did my 56 mile/hour speed run, I was running a 6.5 turn, and then with this setup I've gotten up to 58, but it wasn't really a good run. I think I could probably get up to 60 with this setup, but this needs to be rebuilt. I've got some, my axles are bent. There's some slop here that I need to figure out where that's coming from. This has a locker in it, but I've got like 15 degrees of rotation here, so something is gotten sloppy on me. I need to reinforce this. I want to do my little steering tweaks. So as we move to the back of the car, to help reinforce these chassis braces, we saw those red ones that were cracked. I put this cross brace on it, and that helps take side loads when you're tumbling. And then we're running the stock gearbox with some custom gears inside. I'm running a large, I don't know what size pinion I'm running right now. I want to say like a 20 tooth maybe, but I don't remember. And then I have this custom wheelie bar which uses the stock gearbox, unmodified gearbox to mount to. And yeah, and then where this thing sits, that wheel is probably about, I don't know, maybe 15 millimeters off the ground. So it's a little high. I'd like it to be lower. But still it's enough where if the front wheels pop up, it disrupts that and kind of forces them back down. So it's good, it works. I'm happy with the performance of this wheelie bar. You can see where it's starting to get chewed up from tumbling. And that's it. Not much else going on with this build. I do need to do some rebuild work so I can get some more runs in. I'm gonna keep using the Lunchbox body, but I'm gonna do some fixing up of this body here, just so I can keep running it. And I'll do a video on that because I think I'm gonna do the baking soda CA glue trick. And if you're not familiar with that, go ahead and tune into the next video, and I'll show you what it is, and it actually works out pretty well. It's an old school RC trick, and I don't know how common it is, but I've used it quite a bit on things to repair stuff. If you don't care about looks, it's good at reinforcing. So that is it. Possibly the world's fastest Tamiya lunchbox. It's definitely the winner for the Poor Boys RC CW-01 speed challenge at 56 miles an hour. Hopefully in the next, so we've been getting a lot of rain in California, so I haven't even been able to do runs, but hopefully in the next month or so I can get this running again and break that 60 mile an hour barrier and take that speed run title with Tamiya Club. I thought I had it with the 58 mile an hour one, but that speed run ended in a crash, and that's fine. I don't really like doing a speed run with a crash. I would rather, I would feel a lot better if I could get the speed without crashing, because it's more legitimate, I guess. So that's my goal, 60 miles an hour, no crash. But that's all I got. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Poor Boys RC for hosting this challenge. It was a lot of fun for me. I'll catch you on the flip side.